NHL Network, former NHLer. In terms of where the Leafs would fit into the pecking order in the East, how do you look at the Maple Leafs and are they closer to the top end, somewhere in the middle? They're going to be a playoff team clearly, tons of high end talent, but from the outside looking in, what is your kind of analysis of where the Maple Leafs are at?
Well, the Maple Leafs, I heard you guys talking before a little bit, and I agree with you guys. The Maple Leafs and the Jets are kind of like a wake me up in April. Like, I know they're going to make the playoffs, but what are you going to do come playoff time? And I think they address some needs, grit-wise. I like everything they've brought in. They've done really well in absence of Austin Matthews, so I want to see how Austin slides back into this lineup. But, the biggest thing for the Leafs is they've found a goaltending duo on the cheap, and that's hard to do. And I think Anthony Stolarz has been fantastic this year and really taken some pressure off of Joseph Woll. So, Woll can come in and really just find his game, and which he has. So I think this duo they have, this weird, you would never expect that this duo making just over $3 million is going to bring them to the promised land. But I've seen stranger things, and I do think Anthony Stolarz learned a lot last year in the Panthers, and I feel like he's been waiting for his opportunity to be a starter. He just has never been in the right position on the right team, and now here he is kind of taking the reins, and he's been fantastic. So I think I like what I see on the goaltending. I would try to maybe add something, maybe add some more depth, but right now, listen, they look good. They play well. Craig Berube's got them playing a defensive, tough-nosed style, and the way that something they've been missing. But it all comes down to once game one of the playoffs happen, and obviously we're so early to be talking playoffs, but it's just one of those teams when you look at the Atlantic. The Atlantic's not the biggest juggernaut and never has been for the past 5 years because the Sabres, Red Wings, Senators can't figure it out. So it's probably going to be the Lightning, Panthers, Maple Leafs again, and we'll get either the Maple Leafs in the Lightning round one or something like that. So we'll get something that it just seems like it's the same thing. So I'm just kind of waiting till playoffs for them, and same thing with the Jets. It's what happens come round one, game one of the playoffs, because I think they'll be fine all season, and they're going to kind of cruise into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's the direction they've been going in, and that's what they've been doing for years. That's ultimately where a lot of people stand in this market, and it's going to come down to their best players stepping up in the biggest moments because of what you said. I think they've solidified their defense core with Tanev and Ekman-Larsson. Their goaltenders have been pretty good. We'll see who starts. I mean, that's a legitimate conversation all year. Who's going to be your number one? But come go time, and it's not even the first 5 or 6 games of a playoff series. They're fine there. It's generally, what do you do in Game 7? Like the biggest moment.
Yeah.
That's when you need to put up or shut up.
Or do you have any gas after you do win a series?
Like we
you
saw a
got to
couple
do
of
it
years
3
ago.
more series.
Right. You got to keep going. It's tough. It's a grind. But anyway, yeah, we'll see, man. U.S. Thanksgiving. I guess we're at that point, like you said, Jason, where I think most teams kind of know who they are, and what they have to do, and we'll see where it goes from here. We appreciate you doing this. We'll ask you about San Jose actually on the way out. You mentioned because you cover the team and. Obviously, you're very familiar with them and used to play for them. Yeah. Celebrini, man, give us the goods on this kid. His numbers have been phenomenal. We've seen him play. We've seen the highlights, but how good is this kid, and how lucky are the Sharks that they won this first overall lottery?
Oh, I mean, it's enormous. He is a franchise player. Just what I've heard in the locker room as well. He's a grown up already. He doesn't walk or act or even play like an 18-year-old. He's so good defensively in terms of his work ethic with his stick down low. I mean, he's won the most puck battles in the NHL. He leads the NHL in puck battles won, which is a crazy stat to lead in, especially with the time he missed. He plays a good 200-foot game. I mean, he just had a couple, 2-3 points, I think, tonight. And again, one of the goals, he out-battles somebody in the neutral zone, makes a great backhand pass across ice, and then it leads to a goal. And then, obviously, when he scored tonight, it's just an elite release. So I think he was missing high early in the season. He was really trying to paint the corners, and now he seems to have really settled in and just kind of seen that he doesn't need to try to shoot it through the net, but just good placement on his shots, and he's scoring at a good clip. So he's special. He really is. He's fun to watch, and he battles and competes, and that's what you want. And I think what every GM, when they draft the guy first overall, they're just like, please play like this, and he doesn't really need much development. So I'm anxious to see it come to game 50, 60, once he starts getting into the dog days a little bit. But right now he's been fantastic, and for me he's one of the Calder front runners easily, in which we kind of thought starting the season, but he lives up to the hype, and I think Sharks fans are super, super happy. And I know the GM staff, the GMs there, Mike Greer and Ryan Clough and Doug Wade and Tom Holy, and then obviously the coaching staff, they love what they see from him, and all they kind of are trying to do is guide him and make sure he doesn't do too much and just kind of play his game, and that is more than enough.
The Leafs center dilemma: who can strengthen the roster? If you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan like me, you know the team's center depth has been a constant concern this season. With Auston Matthews set to return from a mysterious upper body injury next week, the excitement of having our star back is palpable. However, there are still serious issues to address in the center position to keep the team competitive and, of course, fuel our playoff dreams. David Kampf, a key piece in the center rotation, is sidelined with a lower body injury. As if that weren't enough, Kalle Jarnkrok is still recovering from surgery, leaving another gap in the lineup. Max Domi, expected to be a versatile asset, has been placed on injured reserve, further aggravating the situation after missing consecutive practices due to lingering pains. To sum it up, the Leafs are missing 4 functional centers, and the pressure to act is mounting. James Mirtle, a respected Leafs analyst and contributor to The Athletic, highlighted a series of potential trade targets to address this dilemma during his appearance on the J.D. Bunky's podcast. Among the names mentioned, 2 stood out: Nick Jugstad and, for the nostalgic fans, a possible reunion with Ryan O'Reilly. Jugstad seems to be Mirtle's favorite, and for good reason. The player, who signed a 2-year deal with the Utah Hockey Club last offseason, carries a manageable $2.1 million cap hit, which is essential for a team as salary cap-strapped as the Leafs. Additionally, standing at 6 feet 6 inches and weighing 205 pounds, he would bring not only physicality but also consistent offensive contributions. Jugstad is the most viable option for the Leafs right now, Mirtle stated on the podcast. And he's right. Experienced and versatile, Jugstad has played for several teams, including the Florida Panthers, Pittsburgh Penguins, Minnesota Wild, and Edmonton Oilers, and could quickly adapt to the Leafs dynamic. With an affordable contract and a solid track record, he offers a practical solution without sacrificing too many future assets. However, it's impossible to ignore the possibility of a Ryan O'Reilly return. Yes, we know he chose the Nashville Predators last summer in search of a quieter environment, but the Leafs management still holds him in high regard. The 2019 Stanley Cup winning captain with the St. Louis Blues is precisely the type of player any contender would love to have on their roster. However, the cost of bringing him back would be steep, both in terms of trade assets and cap space adjustments, as Nashville or a third team would need to retain part of his salary. I don't think the O'Reilly scenario is entirely out of reach, Mirtle said, showing that there's optimism within the organization. However, there are doubts about how much it's worth investing in a 33-year-old player, even with his impeccable credentials. Meanwhile, cheaper internal options like Steven Lorentz, Connor Dewar, Pontus Holmberg, and Fraser Minton have been mentioned. But let's be honest, these names might serve as short-term stopgaps, but they're far from offering the stability and impact the team needs. The pressure is all on GM Brad Treliving. He knows that despite the Leafs' solid performance so far, the center position is crucial to sustaining any championship aspirations. With the trade deadline approaching, Treliving has likely intensified his efforts to finalize a deal. And we, the fans, are eagerly awaiting good news. For now, all we can do is trust that the team can weather this tough phase and hope a solution, whether it's Jugstad, O'Reilly, or another name, arrives before things spiral out of control. After all, as we all know, the Leafs don't have the luxury of wasting another season with a promising but incomplete roster. The time to act is now. The Leafs center dilemma, expanding on the potential solutions. The Toronto Maple Leafs, amidst another promising yet tumultuous season, face one of their most pressing challenges, addressing a depleted center lineup that threatens to derail their momentum. While the return of Auston Matthews is a beacon